People's Democratic Party is from Mohammed This Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan.
People's Democratic Party has
All progressive
called on
countries
Nigerians.
Glad to have you on News Judgment tonight, broadcasting live from our studios here in Lagos, Nigeria. Well, on the program tonight, we'll be analyzing news breaking earlier. A whole lot is happening in the world of news around politics, and we'll be analyzing all of these on the show here, giving you a directions ahead of the dailies tomorrow. That's exactly what we do on the show here. Thank you for joining us once again. And of course, my co-appearance, new Senator and in-house analyst, Dan Alois here. Thank you for joining us again tonight.
It's good to be here.
Well, let's begin with this very important story here. We also heard that another attack in Borno area, which is not really good news here. And it says Boko Haram kills 9 villagers, raise churches in Borno, and about 9 people were confirmed dead in that report.
What else can one say other than this is a serious security issue that we have to face in Nigeria? And until we come to the reality of what is our problem, we will never be able to solve it. Now, why I say this is that each and every time that this type of attack happens, we begin to throw tantrums around and then give it political coloration. But the truth of the matter is that Nigeria is at war. Is at war with enemies who come in to come and take our children as hostages and kill and maim at will. Now, they have now returned Nigeria back to the medieval times where people can oppress and take territories and acquire it. You know what they did? They came in, killed people, raised churches, and then hoisted their flag to indicate that they have conquered that area. And this is a sovereign state, for crying out loud. And we have security agents and agencies within this country. And then we have called for international help. It's a slap on us that all of this is amounting to nothing. It's not checking insurgency. And on a daily basis, we continue to lose lives. So how many more lives are there to be lost before we get to the root of this matter? I think that the first step in solving any problem at all is to identify that problem. Once you identify the problem, then you begin to solve it. Nigeria, I think, have not identified what the problem is as to terror attacks. And so I don't think we're making steps
maybe I want to think differently here, Dan. Maybe we know what the problem is, but we just don't know exactly how to go about solving this problem. Because I'm beginning to think that, okay, at this point, we shouldn't, things like this shouldn't be taking us unaware, even when we're strategizing to see how we can bring the federal government and saying we want to bring Boko Haram to an end. It seems that we don't know exactly how to go about solving the problem.
We have not identified what the problem is.
All right.
You see, if you identify a problem, you would know that, okay, this is the problem, and, you know, identification of a problem comes with solution to that problem.
Okay.
That is the philosophy behind the identification. Now, when things like this happen, we say it's political. Some will say it's an attempt to bring down the government. The government believes, oh, our enemies are doing it. But the truth of the matter is lives are being lost on a daily basis. And then they have returned Nigeria back to the medieval times where people can conquer territory. This is a very important story. It will enjoy the front page prominence tomorrow. Lives are lost, insurgency continues unabated, and it seems Nigeria have no solution to it.
So we expect to see this as one of the leading stories tomorrow on the front page
of the newspapers. Absolutely.
Okay, let's move away from that quickly. This is also bothering as well. Another news breaking earlier this evening says insurgents also killed 14 soldiers, and of course 11 policemen were also confirmed dead in that attack, but this time away from Borno State, which happens to be the hottest or the hotspot of, where Boko Haram attacked. But this time around is in Buniyadi, in Buba local government area of Yobe State.
Now, the Borno attack happened in Goza. Goza local government, if you notice, has been in the news for insurgent attacks. Incessant insurgent attacks has been going on there. Now again, Buniyadi is the village where they entered and killed about 50 students, or male students of government secondary school, Buniyadi, earlier this year. Now we find out that these locations have been witnessing insurgent attacks repeatedly, and then there is nothing on ground to say, oh, they've been repelled.
All right.
A couple of days back, women and vigilantes went on their own to repel a Boko Haram attack. And that's why we didn't have it on Sunday.
Okay.
But on Monday, they came back forcefully and then destroyed soldier army formation, killed policemen.
Okay,
if we have
maybe we should look at exactly.
Are we not going to run to soldiers and police to secure us?
Okay.
So who do we run to?
This is a platform. News Judgment is a platform. We analyze and give a direction. Maybe we should also take a look at exactly what the state of emergency is not getting right. Maybe of course the the deployment of the troops in that particular area. Is it that they were not properly covered? Because if we see all the local government properly covered, then we will maybe witness less of attack in this area.
Well, I'm not versed in military strategy and operations. But what I am saying is that if the soldiers cannot protect us, if the policemen cannot protect us, if these people succeed in destroying soldier formation, destroying police station, killing police and army, who do we run to? It shows that we are helpless in that region. And that is why it is very important that something must be done in the area of security in Nigeria so that we just identify the root cause of this and put a permanent stop to it.
Oh, okay. Very important story. But let's look at the dimension it might take tomorrow.
A second lead, or it probably may take a lead, and the Borno attack takes a second lead. But these stories are stories you will find in the front page of any newspaper tomorrow.
Okay, away from that, quickly moving now to the next story here, and this one says convicted Boko Haram kingpin Kabiru Umaru, that's AK Kabiru Sokoto, begs for presidential pardon through his lawyer. But let's take a look at these.
The truth of the matter...
Is it that he has learnt a lesson?
Not that he has learnt a lesson.
He wants to turn a new leaf?
Don't forget that this man was arrested in the government house, Borno State government house in Abuja, when he was arrested. This guy has been a figure of controversy between the Nigerian police and Borno State government. Now he has been sentenced to life. He has appealed against that judgment, and then is asking for presidential pardon. I am telling you that this man appears to be talking to some people who are well sophisticated and vast in law.
All right.
Now, this kind of play aligns with what Boko Haram is asking for, that we release their prisoners to them in exchange for our girls that are held hostage.
I think I'm beginning to see a new angle or the dimension you're coming from now. It means that, okay, pardon me, and then I can begin, because one of the part of the report says that he was going to mediate or trying to see how he can solve the issue of Boko Haram.
That's what we're saying. The fellow is talking to some people who are more sophisticated and vast in law. And so they are telling him this is a time, the best time for you to negotiate your freedom. And for me, I feel we're in trouble as a country, as a people. And I feel that when people like this get pardoned or are exchanged,
let's see if he gets pardoned, and let's see if the federal government will grant his application. But in the meantime, let's look at the position this might take tomorrow in the dailies.
It's a very important story that goes to the front page with a strip, and then the details will be talked in the papers.
Okay, moving away quickly from that now, this one very important as well. The former president Obasanjo report says it's in talks to free abducted Chibok girls.
Well, this is a good development. Since 2009, when the attacks on Nigeria has been rife, Obasanjo has been making frantic effort to at least get to some people who know somebody somewhere who can get to the Boko Haram sect. Don't forget he went to as far as Borno to talk with one of the in-laws of the slain Boko Haram leader who was killed in 2009, Mohammed Yusuf. And then the man who he was talking with was also assassinated a couple of days after Obasanjo left the place. Now Obasanjo is back as an elder statesman to show that he is a responsible elder statesman and he wants to help. He has done very well. He has done pretty well. Nobody will expect less from him at this time. Very important story. It will also take a strip on the front page. Obasanjo is a national, a regional figure in Africa, and then is recognized all over the world as a top leader in Nigeria. And so if he's intervening now, I think it's the right thing to do, and it will enjoy prominence on the front page tomorrow.
Okay, let's move away quickly from that right now. So, you know, we see that as one of the major stories in the dailies tomorrow. Well, let's quickly look at these. Well, other state governors are also joining, lending their voices in support of the release of the Chibok girls. And one of them is Governor Bukunle Amosun of Ogun State, pleading for the release of Chibok schoolgirls at the celebration of the Children's Day today.
You know, because we are in crisis, we almost forgot May 27 is the Children's Day. Today, we're supposed to be celebrating our children. But where are the children to celebrate? They've been taken, abducted into the forest. So we are traumatized as parents in Nigeria. And then Ibikunle Amosun, using that occasion, that's the governor of Ogun State, using that occasion to plead that those children are released is a timely thing to do and a responsible thing to do at this time. I don't want to delve into him celebrating at this time, but I feel that this appeal to the Boko Haram sect to release the abducted girl is timely and relevant at this time.
Especially that we have more state governors joining in this in the fight against Boko Haram. Now let's move away from that, where we hope to see that also on the front page as well, or in the.
It has to do with the abducted Chibok girls, and so it's not going to be a surprise. It's not going to be a surprise if it's on the front page of the newspapers tomorrow.
Okay, away from that now, this still on Boko Haram, and the reports, one of the news breaking says federal government lines up MTN forensic expert against Senator Aliyu Ndume, who also was alleged to be behind the sponsors of the Boko Haram as well.
Well, Aliyu Ndume is a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. he has been indicted by an arrested insurgent, and he has shown substantial evidence to link the senator. Now, the senator has been taken to court. I think he's been granted bail. And now government prosecutor are saying they want to show profile of his discussion. He has an MTN line, I guess, now. Yes. And so they want to say, okay, MTN will be called in as witnesses, and then other witnesses, forensic experts, will come and prove to him if actually he was involved, and then to really ascertain the level of his involvement. I think this is the right thing to do, so that we just get to the root of the matter and clear his good name, so that nobody smears him with, because I tell you, internationally, nobody who is recognized to be associated with Boko Haram will enjoy anything. Yeah,
especially with the recent sanction now, having a Boko Haram designated as a terrorist group. Well, let's look at the importance of the story. Where are you promoting it?
Well, the front page too, we have a strip of this, and then the details will come inside. It's very important. Boko Haram issues, and then prosecution of Ali Indume, a senator in Nigeria, for his indictment.
Let's move away from that quickly now. This one says, still on insecurity, Bayelsa state government cancels Children's Day celebration. Of course, 43 days after, this is the 43rd day that these girls were kidnapped. And then we have Bayelsa state government also coming out to support the release of these girls. After 43 days, and one of the ways they try to do that is to cancel celebration as well.
Well, I know that it's not only Bayelsa State that cancelled the formal celebration, march past, and the pomp and pageantry that is associated normally with the celebration of Children's Day. Delta did, some other states in the Southwest did, to say, oh, this is a mourning period. Our children to be celebrated have been abducted into the forest. It's a good gesture. And then the Bayelsa State government has, mandated the 8 local government chairmen they have to bring representative of children so that they could have a banter with them and give them a sense of identity, to identify with the kids, to say, okay, we're still with you. We're not celebrating formally now, but there's a reason why, and we all pray together that these our abducted children will be released in no time and unconditionally by this deadly Islamic sect, Boko Haram. For me, the Bayelsa state government has done pretty well, and we hope that by this time next year we have every cause to celebrate our children once more. So, very important story, but it cannot go on the front page. It will go in the pages of the newspaper, and we have to be inside pages. It's not a strong story that should go on the front page.
Now, after the break, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll tell you, of course, the president's wife turns preacher at the Children's Celebration Day. And, of course, she says to Nigerians, stop abusing my husband. That's what the wife of the president tells. But that's coming from the report breaking earlier, fallout of the Children's Celebration Day today. We'll give you detail in a course of analysis when we come back from this break. Stay with us right after this time up.
From time immemorial, women have birthed life, shaped character, and by extension, influenced the society. Moremi of Ife, Emoten of Benin, Queen Aminat of Zaria, all women of influence and power.
Whether it's before election, after election.
How ironical. Women being so powerful, yet have few grounds in decision making.
They see you as weak, and I see you as a wife to a man.
We are talking women in politics.
A woman will be bold enough to stand up and say, I want to become president of Nigeria. Only on Core TV News.
Nice to have you back on News Judgment. In case you're joining us, we're broadcasting live from our studios here in Lagos, Nigeria. We analyze headlines, and of course, a lot of news have been breaking earlier this evening, and that's exactly what you're doing, providing you with a perception or perspective ahead of the dailies tomorrow. Well, before we went on break, we also promote this story. And it says, stop abusing my husband, President wife tells Nigerians.
Well, for me, you see, I have watched closely and recently how people try to come in the defense of the president. And most times, they do more damage to his image than good. Now, the person that has been championing or been in the vanguard of this is the wife, Patience Jonathan. She's always trying to, you know, come in the defense of her husband in any situation. That is understandable. However, I want to say that those media aides of the wife of the president have not displayed any professional dexterity at all. Now, look at the press conference she held.
That's a very good point you've raised here,
look at
Dan.
the press conference she held at the outset of this kidnap issue, and look at how the mismanagement of that particular occasion turned into a worldwide, you know, theater. You know, I mean, for me, this kind of statement, she's saying that anybody that abuses her husband is condemned by God, that God actually installed her husband as president of Nigeria, and God has instructed that you don't abuse your parents, and that particular portion of the Bible does not relate to biological parents alone. It's also talking about leaders, whereas I agree with a biblical, you know, understanding of that passion, of that portion of the Bible, but I want to completely, you know, dissociate myself from linking it to what people are saying to the president. What she's terming to be abuse or insult is not an insult. It is just calling the attention of the president to his responsibility. And I think people should start to appreciate that. You see, when you are going astray and you don't have anybody to tell you and tell you where to go right, then you have a problem. But no matter how you have traveled on the wrong road, once you have somebody to lead you to the path of truth, that's when you get to your destination.
Before we look at the position of this story tomorrow, you raise a point, very importantly. The media aides, those assisting, writing some of this,
they have not displayed any professional
to be very, very careful in the way they write. Maybe the use of language as well.
Not even the use of language. Now? Let me tell you, it's not everything that your principal says that is newsworthy and that is worthy to be heard publicly.
Exactly.
There is a way to manage information. That's why when you read journalism and the practice of journalism, information management takes a whole lot. You know, how to manage an information. There's a way to say shut up, and people will appreciate it. And there's a way to say shut up, and people will say, oh, that's an insult. You know that? So everything that we have to do when it comes to managing information has to be done rightly. And so I say those managing the information of the office of the First Lady have done very badly.
Now let's look at the position of the story in the dailies tomorrow.
Well, it's not a front page material. It will go on the second page. Stop abusing my husband.
I wouldn't be surprised this getting reactions.
It's a sentimental statement that should not be coming at this time that Nigerians are agitated and worried.
Don't be surprised if you get reactions to that. Now, let's move away from that quickly to the next story. Senate to receive report on immigration tragedy probe on Wednesday. But that's tomorrow.
Yeah,
now.
This is a very important and interesting story. People were told to pay 1,000 naira to obtain form. and several of them lost their lives in the process. This is just a summary. Now, we want to know what became of over half a billion that was collected as revenue, or what do I call it now? As revenue.
That's about 600,000 people
let us know
registered for that exercise.
Yes, let us know what became of that money, who shared the money, how much did the contractors get, how much did
That's exactly, because in this report there's nothing of such. Let's know where the money is, and because the federal government say, okay, return this money back, we've not even heard anything. Maybe this report might present, okay, yes, we're returning this money there, but there's no any sign that, okay, this was going to happen anyway. But let's see the position of the story tomorrow before we wrap it up.
Very important story. It goes to the second page of the newspaper and can take a lead there.
Now, just a news mention, Ecomions poured out, poured forth on Tuesday as the remains of the late legal luminary that Chief Godwin Kolawole Ajayi laid in state at the popular GOK. Yeah. Now, quickly, just 10 seconds, very important story. I'm sure you want to give tribute as well.
All right, GOK is one of the first-generation lawyers in Nigeria, very, very iconic person. And he has occupied very important places in our lives in the Southwest. We say au revoir to him, and then we wish him very well in the life after death.
Of course, we've left so many, let's say, of course, things that people will not forget easily. Oh. Well, that's much you can take today on the show. Dan has been a very wonderful anchor, co-appearance with me here. Thank you very much. That's much we can take today. Thank you for being part of it. Let's do it tomorrow again.
Okay, thank you.
Well, and thank you for being there, viewers, for being part of the show from the beginning till now. Well, from all of us and the production crew, I am Frank Omalape. Have a very good night rest.
Top story. This Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan.
Democratic Party has